the evolutionary past of humans, the fact that we evolved eating meat, that the unique nutrients in meat made us human. And this is really difficult to debate. You can look at studies like this one, looking at Paranthropus and other species, that there's a diversion between Paranthropus robustus and Homo habilis and Homo erectus. Paranthropus was a plant eater. He went extinct. Australopithecus evolved into Homo habilis, who was eating more meat. This is evidence for this in bone and teeth. And so it's very clear from the evolutionary evidence that humans evolved eating meat, from the nutritional evidence that meat provides so many unique nutrients, and that when we decrease meat, we have worse outcomes. I can show so many studies, and believe me, Joel, I have them at my fingertips to show you right now. I can show you so many studies showing the vegetarian diets lead to myriad nutritional deficiencies. You can look at your brain response to meat. How is it possible? Why? It doesn't make any sense that all of these epidemiologies studies would show a true finding. And you can look at the Asian epidemiology studies and the interventional studies with red meat, which show it to be not inflammatory and improve outcomes. All of it adds up in my mind to the fact that red meat and organs and fat are at the center of our diet. And we have to take a critical eye toward the epidemiology. I'm not ignoring it. I'm saying, whoa, this doesn't add up. This doesn't pass the sniff test. This is crazy. Why would it be bad for us? And then you get into the realm of healthy user bias, unhealthy user bias, and things start to make more sense. I'm not denying it, but what I'm saying is that in the West, the prevailing narrative is strong. I know you don't go to McDonald's, and I don't go to McDonald's, but I would ask the listener, I'm almost done. I'm finishing in the next 30 seconds. Please don't interrupt me. You got to speak for a very long time, Joel. I let you speak for over 10 minutes. In the United States, when you go to McDonald's, who orders a Big Mac with no bun, no special sauce, no lettuce, no tomato? No one. People are eating red meat with other junk food, and observational epidemiology will forever be confounded by the inability to separate those two. When you go to a barbecue, and I don't know if you go to barbecues where people eat meat, but when you go to a barbecue and there are people eating meat, who eats a steak with no mayonnaise, with processed soybean oil? Who eats a steak with no brownie or Coca-Cola or processed sugar? This is not the behavior of Americans, and observational epidemiology cannot distinguish between any of these things. And it is why that argument to say, let's rely on the entirety, the majority of the data, is false. It's building a house on sand. You're building a house literally on a landfill full of garbage studies that are based on inconsistencies, and it's leading to problems in your followers. And so, as I said, I would respectfully reflect back to you the same challenge. How convinced are you that you are not leading people to ill health, to increased rates of bone fractures, to increased fragility, to decreased mental processing, to decreased libido, to decreased muscle mass, to decreased longevity, to decreased intelligence and processing by asking them to shun meat? Because if you are going to challenge me with that, that must be reflected back to you as well.
I agree with that point of view, by the way. And I'm critical of a lot of vegan diets out there. And I also, my Nutritarian diet attempts to go for, it teaches comprehensive nutrient adequacy and making sure all the nutrients humans need are present in their diet.
But you can't get all those nutrients from plants.
Hold it. Let me say something. Right, you can't get all those nutrients from plants. I'm not disagreeing with that. Now, by the way, in all the blue zones, which are identified by scientists as having the longest lived populations of the world alive. You can mention an African tribe that may be not that sick, but their overall lifespan is shortened by the fact they're not exposed to enough plant material.
Not true. There's no evidence for that.
Hold it.
You can't make that statement.
You wouldn't let me interrupt you for like 10, 15 minutes.
I'm just saying that's a false statement.
Let me just speak for 2 or 3 minutes then.
Yes, please.
Okay, because I have just a few, I can't remember everything you said. Let me just a few of those points. Number one, it's not true what you said about not controlling for refined carbohydrates, bread, the buns, other things. These epidemiologic studies are not done in Western countries, Western dieters. I just gave you the example on the Seventh-day Adventist study on healthy vegans versus people in the same diet with more or less only modifying the amount of meat they're eating, otherwise having the amount of other plant foods being fixed and not eating junk food. There are multiple long-term studies where they control for those factors with oil consumption and processed grain consumption and looking at all the different foods that people are eating in those studies, also showing the same data. So what you're misleading, you're giving misleading information. It's not true that all those studies are confounded. founded. You have very brilliant scientists showing that as you raise processed grains and high glycemic carbohydrates, you cause damage. And as you raise animal products and you reduce consumption of beans and nuts and whole vegetables, you also cause damage. And that vegetables clearly are the foods. And I have this acronym GBOMS, which stands for greens and beans and onions and mushrooms and berries and seeds, that are the foods with the most consistent and powerful association with reduced risk of all types of cancers. Now, nobody's saying here, and I also, by the way, in my blog at my website, drfuhrman.com, on my blog, I commented on that vegan study with increased risk of fracture. And I went into detail about the study to show that how these English vegetarians and vegans were eating such a junk food diet, and most of their calories came from processed carbohydrates, and their diet was, and I analyzed the calcium in their diet, it was inadequate. I analyzed the protein in their diet, which was inadequate. And I showed that, and I showed compared to the Nutritarian diet that I recommend, with obviously much higher in calcium and protein. So I'm also not defending the fact that a vegan diet could be deficient in is deficient in B12, omega-3, zinc, K2, and for some people with higher amino acids. So, and all these things have to be considered when you're advocating the right diet for each individual person. But that doesn't change the fact that as you move a diet with a low amount of animal products to a diet with excessively higher amounts, approaching what we do in America and approaching what you're recommending to very, very high levels, you're putting people into a severe danger zone, and your logic is not even, doesn't even make sense, because a little bit of animal products adds some important nutrients to your diet, and that makes it okay to not eat, to disavow eating a diet high in vegetables, beans, nuts, and onions. You don't have to eat those foods. Instead, you can eat a lot of animal products because a little bit have some beneficial nutritive effects that you don't get from a completely vegan diet. It makes it now good, safe, or better to eat a diet of all animal products and not eat enough vegetables and beans and nuts. And I'm saying is we have a limited dietary portfolio. We only have a certain amount of calories you eat each day. And as your dietary plate is taken up by larger amounts of animal products, you're accordingly lowering your amount of calories from these very protective foods, reducing your risk of cancer. And that's what these studies show. They show as you can tweak, as you put animal products down to lower levels, and when you go down all the way to a vegan diet, yes, then you have to substitute EPA, B12, K2, extra zinc is beneficial to your immune system because zinc isn't absorbed as well from plant foods. There's things there's things you should do that you would get better from meat, and you can accommodate that or use a small amount of animal product, but that's not the argument here. The argument that I'm making on this podcast, on this interview, is that the diet style that you and other people are advocating a high amount of meat that are recommending that is too dangerous to consider because the data is overwhelming. And by you disavowing that data, you're doing yourself a disservice and putting yourself at too high a risk and your followers at too high a risk. And the idea that all these nutrients that are so important in meat, and I'm saying, well, there's thousands of nutrients, antioxidants and phytochemicals that you might get in tiny amounts, and a couple of them here and there, but it's the huge variety of phytochemicals that has phytochemical synergy. And I can show you studies that adding flax seeds reduces risk of, here's an interventional study on people with breast cancer followed for 10 years, showing a 71% decreased risk of death from breast cancer over that 10-year period.
That's you have to be very careful when you're talking about, these are relative risk reductions. These are not absolute risk reductions, Joel.
Okay, so we're still talking about, we can talk about, that's a different, absolute or relative. I understand what you're saying.
You're inflating the numbers.
I'm just giving the numbers it says in the results of the study.
But you're not reporting them accurately, so I'm just correcting you.
No, I'm reporting exactly what the study states in the literature that's published and these are peer-reviewed data with scientists reviewing the data, checking their accuracy, published in medical literature. So, and you're saying, well, that data, but in any case, I'm showing you that the data, there's so much data and there's so much careful data. And I think that you're making some major errors by disavowing all the data you don't like. And I'm not disagreeing with you on other aspects and saying that there are vegans eating unhealthfully, and there are certain nutrients that vegans have to be concerned with, and that primates, and we're a primate, and as a primate,
we're a hominid. We're different. We're a different species than a primate. Let's be very clear about that.
That's not okay. That's a semantical disagreement. I don't
We're a hominid. Well, our guts look completely different. I mean, I want to let you finish.
No, they don't. Our guts are not like a carnivore.
They're completely different than primates, Joel.
Okay.
Our guts are completely different than primates.
My end of my sentence there was saying that we're dependent on a large amount of plant matter for good health in the long term. Because of our genetic history, we're dependent on that. And we look at populations like the Maasai or like the Eskimos or like the ones that you're bringing up. When we look at them, they all who have higher degrees of animal products and limited exposure to plant foods, they all have dramatically shortened lifespans.
Show me that data. Show me the data. Pause. Show me that data. Show me that data, because their lifespan of hunter-gatherers is confounded by higher rates of infant mortality. This is called squaring of the morbidity curve. It is something I have talked about ad nauseum. I interviewed James Clement. We talked about this. If you look at hunter-gatherer populations, the Inuit, the Eskimo, the Maasai, the Hadza that I just spent time with, their health span is much greater than ours as Western societies. And if you account for the higher rates of infant mortality that occur in the wild, they live just as long as us. It is an absolute inconsistency. You are completely wrong.
Well, just as long as us, that's not very good. Just as long, I'm saying
they have a health span, but they live, 70 to 80 years. Their life expectancy is 70 to 80 years.
But our life expectancy of a healthy population should be at least 90 to 100 years.
Well, look, like there's no one living that long on the
standard American diet, the poor diet, poor life.
Allow me to finish my thought.
Americans die of cardiovascular deaths. Okay.
It's not productive when we just do this. So one of us has to do a thought and the other one does. I jumped in, but just let me finish my thought. Then I'll let you finish and then I'll respond to the things you said and then I'll let you go skiing. So you were stating that hunter-gatherers have short lifespans. That's false. You cannot show me that data. And if you show me that data, I will publicly say that I was wrong. But that is not true. That is not true. There is squaring of the morbidity curve. These Hadza, some of them live to 80, 90 years old, but their life expectancy is just as good as ours in the West, and their health span is much better. And like I said, Joel, they eat meat every time they can get it. They are the most vital people I've ever met. They are super healthy. They don't have chronic disease. So that's just an anthropologic example. But for you to say that hunter-gatherers don't have the same lifespan as us is wrong, or that plant-based populations.
I'm not using the term hunter-gatherers. I use the term Eskimos
and Maasai, which are hunter-gatherers
who eat a lot of meat. I'm saying high meat-consuming populations.
Right. There
are hunter-gatherers that may eat a lot of plant food too with their meat. Right. We're talking about as the people that exclude meat, they get it, and they don't have enough exposure to plant food, then they get into trouble.
See, that's false. I don't believe you can corroborate that statement. I want to let you finish your thought. I want to let you finish your thought, and then I'm going to finish my thoughts, because you mentioned blue zones, you mentioned the African tribes, you mentioned controlling for variables, and you mentioned antioxidants. So I want to respond to all that, but I want to make sure you have a chance to finish all of your thoughts.
Well, I do have to go, and I don't think this is becoming more productive anyway, because my main point, as you know, is that we have overwhelming, incontrovertible data that you can't throw out, and you just want to throw everything out. So, and I think that data is the high credence primary gold standard. So you remove the gold standard and you present junk as being this gold standard. So we're at an impasse that can't be solved, because I think the large scale studies with large numbers of people followed for years with carefully controls of what the variables are, I think those are the gold standard. So, and I think that we have to use the studies that the long-term studies, when they corroborate the short-term studies, and they corroborate each other, a large number of them corroborate each other. So you can comment now, but I think I've said enough. I don't think I need to counterpoint what you're going to say. I think you can counterpoint the end, and we can close this conversation, because the major difference is we're not going to come across that big divide here.
Yeah, but I think the conversation is valuable. So you are saying now that we should use observational epidemiology as the gold standard, and I would disagree with that 100%. That's not mainstream medical science says no. No way. That's not the gold standard at all. If you look at the pyramid of evidence in
With nutrition,
mainstream,
I just say with nutrition, it's not a drug. With nutrition, you need time to ferret out and see what happens to people when they follow a certain way of life long term. We need time, and the short-term studies don't give us some hypotheses. But if you don't, with drugs, it's different. But it may be a gold standard, a double-blinded controlled trial with a drug. But with nutrition and the fact that we live a long time and you don't see the effects of what the advice is for decades later, cancer, what we do now causes cancer 20, 30 years down the road. If you don't look at what happens down the road with nutritional interventions, then you're not looking at the, then you're not finding, you're not getting the right information out of the studies. You have to look at long-term with nutrition.